what's going on everybody? It's been a while, but I'm back. In this video, we're going to take a look at customizing a WinPE environment. So if you haven't seen it already, here's a link up here, guys. Check it out. My previous video on how to get WinPE up and going. That includes installing all the prerequisites and things like that. So if you haven't watched that, or you haven't created a WinPE, make sure you check that out first. Alright, so we'll pick up here, assuming that you've already done that. Go ahead and click on Start. Type in Deployment, and you're going to launch the Deployment Imaging Tools environment. Run that as administrator. Make sure you run that as admin. Alright guys, so that'll bring you to the prompt where this is installed. Very long prompt here, so what I'm going to do is use a little pro tip. Type the word prompt, $G. That'll bring us down to a caret. And if you forget where you're at, you can always type CD, and that'll echo that to the screen. Alright, so first thing we need to do, guys, is we're going to copy the PE environment. Copy the PE media, I should say. So let's go ahead and type that in. Now it's important to know where you want to copy this to. So copy PE. I'm going to copy the AMD64. That's the architecture I'll be working with. And this is the folder where you want to copy the environment to, or all the media to. If that doesn't exist, it will create it. So there we go. It copied everything down for us. So the next thing we'll do, guys, is we'll mount that. Give me a second here. I'm just updating my script, and I'm going to give you guys all these commands, so don't worry about it. Alright, so now we're going to mount that image. And that'll take a second. Once this is mounted, it'll allow us to actually work with the file system of the mounted ISO, or the mounted image, I should say. WIM file, technically. Okay, so now that that's mounted, let's go and make sure that this directory exists and we have our PE environment mounted. So this is where the media is actually mounted to. C WinPE mount. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to open File Explorer, and I'm going to head over there. There we go. So now we're looking at our WinPE media. So if you go to Windows, first thing I'm going to show you how to do is customize the background. By default, WinPE has that very boring, dull blue background. So we're going to go over to Windows System 32. And there should be a file in here called winpe.jpg. Okay, where you at, WinPE? There we go. So we may have to change the permissions on this. Let's try to delete it first. Yeah, it's not going to let us, so we do have to come in here and change the owner and then change the permissions. I think we have to change the owner. Let's double check that. We would need to give this user, or this group, full rights, and we can't do that yet. So yeah, we're going to have to go to Security Advanced, change the owner to Administrators. Okay, and then we'll open that back up in Properties again. And then we will give full rights to administrators. And now we should be able to delete or modify that. So really you just need to replace this file. Let's go ahead and just rename it old. So now go ahead and find any file that you want, a JPEG, and save it as winpe.jpg in there. Downloaded one. I don't remember if I have the correct format, so let's go ahead and take a look. Gotta love the tab feature of the new Windows 11. Very handy. So buffunicorn.png. I think it needs to be a JPEG, so let's open this in Paint. Or can we do it from here? Let's see. Save. Save as copy. We want to go JPEG. There we go. Cool. So we're going to save this as WinPE. And we want to save this to C. Is it WinPE mount Windows System 32? There we go. WinPE.jpg. Save that. Oh, okay. It won't let me. That's okay. We'll save it into our pictures folder. and then we'll drag it over there. Okay, so let's go back to our pictures. We should have WinPE. Let's copy that guy, go back to System 32. There we go. So now we have a custom WinPE.jpg. So when we launch our WinPE, we should see a buff unicorn dude there. Pretty sweet. And the next thing I'll show you guys how to do is add applications, which is also very simple. You can add them to the System 32 folder. What I like to do though is create an additional folder here called apps, just to have a little bit of organization. So now that we have a apps folder, let's go ahead and add an application in there. One of the places you can do that is pendrive.com. I butchered that again, guys. pendriveapps.com. So let me show you that. Alright, so this has some portable applications that you can put on a flash drive or that you can run in a WinPE environment. The most important thing here, guys, is make sure you download the correct architecture. So if you're building a 64-bit WinPE environment, you're definitely going to need to get a 64-bit application. So let's just find an app and we'll check it out. VNC, why not? Okay, so we're going to try to download the real VNC portable viewer. Where's my download link? There we go. And we're going to make sure we get that 64 standalone. There it is. We're going to download that for Windows. And there it is. Show that in the folder. So I will copy this. And I will jump back to my apps folder and paste that in there. So this is just one standalone application, guys. You do need to do some testing with these. Some of them seem to work better than others. But this is an example of how you can get an application of your choice, a standalone application, over to your WinPE environment. I may do a future video on how to build standalone applications, because not everything has a standalone version, obviously, but the purpose of this video is to show you how to customize WinPE, and that way you'll have the fundamentals or the stepping stones, excuse me guys, the stepping stones, if you will, to kind of take it to the next level and build your own. I do want to, for 2024, I will be making a brand new USB. It'll be the Ultimate USB version 2 or 2024 edition. And in that one, I do want to build out a very vast WinPE environment, kind of like you see with some of the big names like Hirens or Sergi Select, or you plug in a name there. They've kind of really taken it to the next level and built a fully functional, fully customized WinPE environment. That would be my ultimate goal, and then I would add that to my USB for 2024. But again, the purpose of this video is to show you guys how to do it. So, alright, now that we have our app copied there, we need to head back to the deployment toolkit command line, and we need to run a couple more commands here. So the next thing we're going to do, guys, is we are going to unmount the image because we are done modifying it. So you'll run this command. I'll give you all these commands. And you do have to get the directory correct. Sorry about that. We're working in WinPE, not WinPE 64. I was doing that earlier. Okay. There we go. So that will save it, and then it will start the unmount process. That takes maybe a minute. It's early here, guys. I'm getting my first coffee. It was a long weekend. A lot of honeydews, a lot of housework. So make sure you have the windows closed, because I think I just messed it up because I didn't have the windows closed. So you need to make sure that you're not in here when you try to unmount it. It may or may not work this time. We can try to unmount it again. Yeah, it's going to bark. I think we can still go ahead and make the ISO. Let's find out. But make sure you guys have the browsers or the Windows Explorer browsers closed. Anything open to that, or it's going to say, hey, I couldn't fully unmount it. Let's go ahead and make the ISO and see what happens anyway. But if you guys have those file explorers closed out, you're not interacting with any directories in that mount, you won't get that error. It should get to 100% and fully unmount. So don't do what I did. Do as I say, not as I do. Alright, there we go. We're going to do a make WinPE ISO. You've seen this in my previous video. And we do need to get to the right directory again. And this should create a WinPE underscore custom ISO on the root of C WinPE. And that was fast, says it's done, so let's check. And here's our custom ISO. So only thing left to do is try to boot into it. So here's a test VM that I have. Let's just change the settings. Excuse me, guys. We're going to change the settings so it'll boot from that new ISO that we created. And that was in C WinPE custom. Alright, let's attach this. It's connected to power on. Let's boot them up, see what happens. Hey, look at that. There's a buff unicorn in the background. So as you see, our wallpaper definitely worked. Guy needs to work on his arms. They're looking kind of small there. Alright, so let's do a dir, and we should have an apps directory along with a ton of other stuff. Yeah, we got too much stuff to see that, but if we do cd apps, that should be there. Yep, dir, and we have our VNC. So let's try to run that and see what happens. Hey, look at that, guys. We have a functional, I think, application within our WinPE. Very cool. So yeah, there's your VNC application that we copied over, and we should be ready to go. Continue without signing in, and now if you had a VNC connection that you wanted to connect to, you'd be good to go right there from your WinPE. So that's just a quick tutorial, guys. You can customize a WinPE environment fairly easily. I will provide you with all the commands that I used in this video, along with a few notes here. If you guys enjoy this content, you can probably hear my dog back there squeaking. If you enjoy this content, you got any value out of the video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't, guys. I know over 90% of my views come from non-subscribers, so it doesn't cost you anything. Really helps me out. I'm still trying to grow the channel, so your support is very much appreciated, guys. Drop me a comment. I love to respond to the audience. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know if you build a custom WinPE environment. I would love to see it. Obviously, this was a small example, but again, gave you the foundational steps to really create something as big as you want, right? I mean, your imagination is your limitation here. So, again, guys, appreciate you sticking around to the end. I hope you all have a great day. Until the next one, take care.